I hope you're doing well. Did you know that more than 7,000 folks attended KubeCon plus CloudNativeCon Europe in Spain, Valencia this year? This was indeed a really big event, especially after a long time, given that the world that we are living in now. And definitely for the Civo team, and also I'm sure for all the other companies, startups, organizations, and open source projects that were present in person as well as virtual. I think it was an amazing experience, most definitely for the business side of things, the community side of things, the networking part, collaborations, so on and so forth. So in this particular video, we're gonna see what the experience of the Civo team was like, and what we had in store for the community members, some of the talks that the Civo team members were a part of, starting with the KubeCon region. So one of the highlights for our booth was the KubeCon region that we set up, where folks can launch a cluster. They could launch a cluster in Spain, and the region was actually present at our booth, and it was pretty nice. Folks were able to spin up their cluster, get into a raffle to win some Legos, and check it out live at the event premises. It consisted of around 512 cores, 2 terabytes of RAM, and 14 terabytes of NVMe storage. So huge shout out to James, who shot this and summarized the entire the experience of how we did it, and interviewed Kai, who is one of our developer advocates at Civo. So let's learn more about it in this video by James.
So my name is Kai. I'm a developer advocate here at Civo, and this is a little Civo region in a box. So it's a bonkers idea that we had to bring to KubeCon, which is to take one of our kind of the hardware that runs one of our regions, of which we have 3 at the moment. So there's Frankfurt, New York, and London. And for the duration of this week, there's Valencia, which is a miniaturized version of a full data center that we usually run. So inside is Open Compute project hardware. So it's all modular. And there's compute nodes, there's memory, and there's storage. And obviously on a full-size rack, these would be replicated umpteen times. But this is basically the same sort of hardware that runs our production regions. All right, so let me demonstrate to you. This is my account on Civo, right? And what we have here, when I drop down, so these are our usual regions, but oh wait, what's this? Spain KubeCon. And if I go to it, I am already running a cluster, but you get this thing where we're running a competition. But basically, this is, if I were to go and launch a cluster on this region, so you can see on here that the selection is KubeCon, I'm going to go and just go, hello, KubeCon as the name. I'm going to add 3 nodes and just basically just use any old firewall. And we are going to launch with an app from the marketplace. Yep. And what we will see here is our Hello KubeCon cluster is building. And because I've added our little competition app, you get this little banner. But the point is that the system knows that this hardware is this cluster is running on this hardware. So if we pan quickly from this to here, I can't point exactly to where, but I'm going to say that blinking light is our cluster. So it is legitimately running on this piece of kit here, and it's like I said, it's the same hardware that runs our production stuff. So the cluster launch should still be in that sort of 90-second time. And as soon as that's ready, we will be able to see all the nodes pop up. In fact, so we can see one of our nodes of one of our 3 is already up. And we already have a public IP here and a DNS name, which will be populated as soon as the DNS service sort of refreshes. So in a couple of minutes, we will have all 3 nodes. And brilliant. That's our cluster running on this piece of kit here. We got a special sort of pipe through the CNCF and through the convention center here. So we've got a couple hundred megs each way, which is faster than the Wi-Fi here. We went like, we're going to need 3-phase power and we're going to need networking because we're bringing a rack. And they just went, okay. So, nice. When you do a proof of concept and you do more like, not necessarily to prove to others, but to prove to yourself, right? That we are able to spin up an entire region at a couple days notice as soon as we have the hardware is it's testament, I think, to what the team here, whose backs you can see there, the sort of scripting and sort of planning capability that we have built in, which means that we are able to deploy something as small as this or an entire data center, basically with a couple of lines of Ansible. So, you know.
And there you go, Ansible.
Yep,
Love it.
I knew it. I knew it.
One of my old friends there.
Yeah. So if you go on I'm going to do a shameless plug here, but on the Civo YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/CivoCloud, there is a video of the deployment of a previous region, which has a lot of like the actual code, what we run, Ansible, and other sort of automation tools. Thank you, James.
Cheers. Bye-bye for now.
That was indeed amazing and really eye-catching thing for a lot of folks who were passing by our booth, and definitely made some really nice connections. Moving on to the demos. So as we mentioned that we had our own region set up, there were a lot of folks and companies who were utilizing the power of Civo and what we have to offer at their demos at KubeCon. So we had Polar Signals, who are optimizing the performance of cloud using Civo for their testing environments, and they did a demo at the KubeCon at their booth in itself with the Parka, which is an open source continuous profiling storage query engine and an EBF based profiler. So we got a chance to speak with the team and they were able to share their experiences, and in this next video you're going to see a live demonstration about how they did it and a little bit more information about the tools that we have used.
So we're right here at KubeCon. We have this Civo KubeCon region over there, and we're going into Kubernetes. We've selected KubeCon, obviously, and now we want to create a new cluster, run 3 nodes, call it Parka. All of that is fine, and we want to use the small ones and go to monitoring, and in here we select Parka, and that's really cool, and then we create the cluster. And with that, we should be able to see the Parka instance coming up, running on those machines. That's such a cool idea to bring the cluster and to be able to deploy to this.
While that's deploying, tell us a little bit more about Parka.
Okay, so Parka is basically continuous profiling, where we collect profiles continuously over time. We can tell you where the processes running on the cluster spend CPU and memory. We can tell that over time. We can compare profiles of those processes after deployment. What's gotten worse, what's gotten better. We can merge all of the profiles from a single namespace. We can do multiple namespaces. We can merge a profile of the entire infrastructure into one profile. And yeah, we can pretty much run that on any Kubernetes cluster. And on top of that, we actually use eBPF to collect these profiles. So it deploys a daemon set, and you don't even need to do anything really to the applications you instrument on the cluster, right? So yeah, we should be up and running, and we should get a Parka instance in a couple of seconds. So it's still building. But hopefully...
Yep, so it builds a cluster under 90 seconds and we're done.
And we're done.
Nice.
That's so cool.
Very cool.
And then we have a pretty nice demo here on site.
On site. It's running here. What do you think, Mark?
Perfect.
That is not all. Not just companies who are utilizing Civo, but also individual developers. In this next video, you will see Ingin, who is a great community member in the CNCF community, and they used the Spain KubeCon rack, the region, to deploy their own Minecraft server in just a matter of seconds.
We just deployed a Minecraft server here on the KubeCon on a Civo cluster brought by the people from Civo. And as you can see, the region, KubeCon, the server, and now we connect to the Minecraft server. And then we can play.
It was indeed a great experience to get the rack at the event premises at this KubeCon, and we can't wait to share what we have in store for you in the next one. And I believe we've received over 1,500 CFP submissions, so it's going to be exciting to see because at this KubeCon, the keynotes, even the co-located events and other events like Cloud Native Rejects, for example, and the workshops and talks and mentoring sessions were pretty well attended and had some really insightful topics for discussion, especially around the Kubernetes security as well. So it'd be interesting to see what they have in store. What the community has in store for the next one. Speaking of talks, there were a few talks by the Civo team members as well, who gave some hands-on workshops, some of the community talks. Starting with Dinesh, the director at Civo, he was a part of the panel Does Green Software Need Open Hardware? That was hosted by Open Compute Project, because as we know that by 2040, the communication technology sector, it is expected to account for around 14% of the world's carbon footprint. So in this panel, they discussed about how does green software, help and what it is all about, answered some of the amazing questions. And by the way, all of these talks that we are covering and even more that were present at KubeCon, you can find the recordings now on the CNCF YouTube channel. I'll leave the links to those in the description below, and you can also find these listed in the blog post that is also listed in the description below. Another panel of discussion that Dinesh was a part of was on IPv6. As we all know, we are running out of IPv4 addresses, and in this particular discussion, along with some of the SIG network members and the Kubernetes contributors, they did a deep dive into the technical details underlying the move to dual stack networking, and they also shared some of the recommendations that can help you to shape your IPv4 or to IPv6 rollout strategy. I'll leave the links to that also in the description below. Speaking of KubeCon and the CNCF, we all have seen the vast ecosystem, the landscape, CNCF landscape. It can be a little bit of overwhelming. You can get an overwhelming feeling when trying to navigate this landscape. And because there's so many categories, there's so many tools, and so many projects keep coming out, and how do you keep up with all these things? And let's say you have a project that you're trying to apply cloud native best practices to. Where do we start? Which project do we look into? How do we know that one project is better in terms of other for some of the particular use cases? That's why we did a panel, me and Sayam from Civo, who's the director at Civo, along with Savita and Divya, about navigating the CNCF landscape the right way. So in this panel, we basically discussed about what the landscape is all about. It has around, I think, more than 1,000 cards associated with it, and how folks can navigate to it. What are some of the key things to keep in mind? Some of the best practices, and how to get your project, like what does the procedure look like to get a project into the landscape. And when you have your own projects, or your own you want to set up the cloud native best practices, where do you start? How do you identify which one to go for, which project to go for, the pros and cons? All these things were discussed in this panel. Last but not least, Sayam, who's the director at Civo, he was a part of the Cloud Native Chaos Engineering with Litmus Chaos session. As we know that the Litmus Chaos basically is a framework that has been designed to address the newer requirements for chaos engineering. In this panel, along with Sayam, there was Uma, Karthik, and Udit, who provided a deep dive of the project and some of its goal and where the community is headed and how they're achieving those goals. In addition to that, they also mentioned resources related to how you can contribute to the project. That was it about KubeCon and CloudNativeCon Europe 2022. Really excited, what we have to bring to the table for the next one. In addition to that, also excited about what the community presents. And if you want to learn more about the individual experiences of the Civo team members, there's a blog post that we have compiled for that, so you can find the link to that in the description below. And do let us know what your experience was like and what you're looking forward to for the next KubeCon in the comment section below. And we'll see you in the next one. Have a great day. Bye.